Good morning, Urvashi.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so I hope my voice is audible. Fine.
Yes, sir.
All right. So if you are ready, we can begin with the mock.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Okay. So Urvashi, you did your integrated masters from BITS planning, I think, right? And you
Yes.
also did an internship in Stanford, and you also have a very good CGPA. So it looks like you have a very good academic bent of mind. Then why do you want to join Indian Forest Service?
Yes,
Forest
sir.
Service.
So with regards to the academic experience that I've gotten, I actually want to apply it in the field. And I believe that the specialization that I have will bring value to the service. I am also very passionate about environment conservation and wildlife conservation. And in fact, my hobbies are also watching wildlife documentaries. And whenever I get a chance, I try to experience being in the nature in person. So I want to join the Indian Forest Service in order to align my specialization with my passion.
All right, that's great. So, like, if you get a selection this year in Indian Forest Services, and you get a selection called next year in Civil Services also, so will you be continuing in IFS or you will be joining IS?
Sir, I would be honored to serve any All India service. Um, I believe that through the Indian Administrative Service, I would get a bigger platform to make the impact that I am willing to make. And so, if given a chance, I would want to serve in the Indian Administrative Service, but it would be an honor to serve the Indian Forest Services also.
All right. So, like, Urvashi, what challenges do you foresee for yourself as an Indian Forest Service officer?
So first and foremost, I think there will be some challenges with regards to my gender because I will have to work in the field where there have been fewer female officers before. So there could be infrastructural challenges or just perception challenges working with my team and other local people. Apart from that, I think it is also the field, the security issues that the field would serve because of being in the wild, being in forest areas. So I believe those would be the immediate challenges. And of course, because I will have to learn and get more training about the service, I might face um, other challenges as part of my duty.
All right. So, Urvashi, what is the meaning of your name?
Sir, actually, Urvashi is a mythological character. It is the name of an Apsara who was present in Indra's court. And it is believed that when Urvashi used to dance, it used to bring rain on planet Earth.
All right. So, like, Urvashi, can you tell me a few of the best archers in Indian mythology?
Sir, in Mahabharata, we have Dronacharya, who is one of the famous archers who um, is believed to have a very good target, and he had only one target when he was shooting. Um, there are even in Ramayana, archery was used by both um, the god Ram and god Lakshman during the course of the war.
Anyone else?
Sir, I cannot recall.
Okay. So, like, all those you mentioned, they were also male, and then there are other very famous archers like Arjuna, Karna, right? There was Iklavya. So we see that all of them are male. So why don't we have many female archers in our mythology?
Sir, I think traditionally in mythology, the role of archery was not as a sport but as a tools for fighting in the war. It was more of a military endeavor and also used for hunting. So I think these two activities were traditionally not undertaken by women in mythology, and that is why we don't see women archers.
All right. So, Urvashi, you are also interested in wildlife documentary. So, can you tell me or in which protected area do we get one-horned rhinoceros?
So we find the one-horned rhinoceros in different protected areas of Assam, West Bengal, and Uttar Pradesh. The highest number of one-horned rhinos we find in Kaziranga in Assam, and the highest density is in Povitora, again in Assam. In West Bengal, the highest number is in Jaldapara National Park, and in UP, we find though there are very few in number, there are some one-horned rhinos in Dudhwa National Park.
All right. So suppose you are watching a wildlife documentary and you come across a shoot where you are seeing one-horned rhinoceros as well as elephant, right? And as well as lion. So where could this be?
But I think that would be in South Africa or in the African savanna region and not in India.
All right, that is a good answer, right? So Urvashi, like you also have forestry as an optional. So like we have green revolution in agriculture, and we saw that agriculture was hugely benefited from green revolution. Why haven't we seen a green revolution in forestry till now?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think the reason for green revolution, one of the reasons was its remuneration. It
Like
was majorly.
just sorry to interrupt. I also want an angle from your background, right? You are a biotechnology student, so do include that perspective also.
Yes, sir. So, like I was saying, the Green Revolution was majorly focused towards increasing agricultural productivity, not just for food security, but also towards food crops that was could be sold and exported. And so there was a huge revenue angle to the Green Revolution. And the second was it did not start in India; it started in the West. There was emphasis or there was focus on creation of high yielding variety seeds, and we were beneficiaries of that development. But unlike that, in forestry, there has been lesser research in producing, like you mentioned, like genetic or high yielding varieties of forest trees. And because forests have such context specific flora and fauna, we have probably not been able to benefit from the research that is happening in the West and have to focus more on indigenous research, which is currently lacking.
All right, Urvashi. So my last question to you is that, like, you're also from biological science background. So, can you tell me why do female live more than male? Like, is there any genetic basis to that?
Yes, sir. So one of the reasons for longer lifespan of a female is because there is a difference in the chromosome sets that a female and a male inherit. Females have two X chromosomes in their genome versus males who have X and Y chromosomes. The Y chromosome happens to be a shorter chromosome, and there is a correlation between the length of the chromosome and the lifespan. So this is one of the reasons that I am aware of. There may be other factors that are influencing lifespan, but I cannot recall them right now.
All right. So, thank you, Urvashi. Over to Lawrence, sir.
Good morning, Urvashi.
Good morning, sir.
Are you unwell?
So yes, I have a throat ache since the past week.
Okay, yeah, it seems a little bit that way. You were also in Stanford, right?
Yes, sir.
Why were you there?
Sir, as a part of my course curriculum requirements at Pitspilani, since I have done a dual degree with a bachelor's and a master's, I was supposed to do a master's thesis. So I chose to do my master's thesis at Stanford because they agreed to host me in a lab there, and that is why I went there.
So, what was the project that you worked on at Stanford?
Sir, I worked with a professor who was working in the blood center, and the research was aimed at finding genetic mutations, the onset of these genetic mutations, as well as its impact on blood related disorders, which ultimately leads to blood cancer.
Okay, so now you have like such a good background. You have also studied in prestigious university in India and also in the US. So, why don't you want to continue in that area?
Yes. So while I was doing my research and I was getting specialized in biotechnology, I realized that um, there are different ways to make a long-lasting impact on the society, and research is is also one of the means, but it is more time-consuming. It does not guarantee immediate results, as well as it is very specialized for a very small set of people in most cases. Um, what my target in life or what I want to do is to create an impact in the society around me, and I saw greater opportunities for that in India, and also I believe that the civil services is a platform to impact the people at a much larger scale, and hence I am trying to get into the civil services.
Okay. Uh, for the past now almost like 3 years, we have lived through the pandemic, uh, COVID-19. Can you enumerate the main tests that are used for COVID-19?
Yes, sir. So one of the most commonly used tests as well as the more accurate one is the RT-PCR, stands for reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction. This is done to check the integration of the viral RNA into our genome, and so it is more accurate and it can be detected within 3 days of onset of contracting the virus. The second one that is commonly used is rapid antigen test. This checks the development of antibodies against the virus in the bloodstream. And usually this is done 7 to 11 days after contraction of the virus in order to give the body time to generate the antibodies. This is also cheaper than the RT-PCR and faster because you have to only check the antigens. Apart from these, there have been other development of other tests like paper-based CRISPR tests developed in India. There is also other forms of testing in the West, which we do not have in India, which involves checking the mRNA. And there are tests which check protein levels in through the nasal swab. So these are also being done, but in India we are mainly focusing on two tests.
So, can you explain me how does the rapid antigen test actually work? So, where you see those two lines, how do you get that there is a control line and then there is a test line? So, how do you get those two lines in case of a COVID positive person, and why only one line in case of a negative case?
Yes, sir. So again, the rapid antigen test is checking the response of our body to the virus by generation of antibodies. So since we understand the morphology of the virus itself, we can design or we know what kind of antibodies will be produced against their proteins, for example, the spike protein. So these antibodies are coated on the plate on which the test is carried out, and then the blood or whatever saliva swab that we take from a person is run over the well. So if the body has these viruses, the antibody already present in the well will detect the protein. So that is how the second line is there. For the first line, like you said, it is a control line. So it is not checking for the viral protein, but rather the common proteins that are present in the body. And that is just to ensure that the test is working correctly.
Okay, very good. Also, we have seen in many cases it's difficult to basically when mass test people when the number of COVID cases you have like silent COVID asymptomatic cases as well. Sewage testing is also done.
Yes, sir.
Testing of sewage waters. What type of tests are done there?
Sir, I am not aware about the exact assays that are used, the names of the technology for sewage assessment, but I am aware that it is being done.
Okay. What is difference between type 1 errors and type 2 errors?
Sir, I am not sure.
Like difference between false positives and false negatives. It's related to that. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Also, California, okay,
Yes,
is seismically very active.
yes, sir.
What are the reasons behind that?
So California is actually present on a transform boundary. It is called the San Andreas Fault. There is a very large fault running across the state, and that is the primary reason for their seismic activity.
Okay, what is a transform fault?
So the transform fault is a fault formed between two tectonic plates which slide in relation to one another.
Mhm.
So it is not a
They slide
collision.
like all faults slide in relation to one another. What is the nature of
Uh,
that sliding?
yes, sir. So the sliding is it is not unlike in a collision where it is pushing against each other. There is no resistance movement towards each other.
Okay. There is also a subduction zone just west of it. Okay. What do you understand by subduction?
So in a subduction zone, one tectonic plate is going underneath the other plate. This can be between two oceanic plates or a continental and an oceanic plate, or two continental plates also.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, for earthquakes, we have like different kinds of scales. Okay. To measure them. The two main ones are, one is intensity scale and another one is magnitude scale. Okay.
Yes,
What
sir.
is the do you know what is the difference between them?
Yes, sir. Sir, in the magnitude scale, the magnitude of the earthquake waves itself is measured seismically, versus in the intensity scale, the effect of the earthquake on the surface, on the buildings and the people, etc., is measured.
Okay. Okay, good. That's all from my side for the time being. Over to you, Satwik sir.
Thank you, Lawrence. Good morning, Urvashi.
Good morning, sir.
So you have been into archery.
Yes, sir.
What are the types of different bows?
Sir, in India, there are three main types of bows used in the as a sport in the tournaments. One is the recurve bow, which is common all over the world. It is made of carbon fiber. The second is the compound bow. This is also made of fiber, but the mechanics of releasing the arrow is different. It also has pulleys and wheels attached to the bow. And the third is the wooden bow, which is the type of wood used for the wooden bow varies from state to state. And this is something that has been adapted from the tribal society where they practice archery.
So could you please name the kind of wood we use in the wooden bow?
Um, I am aware that there are certain states where they are making wooden bows out of bamboo, um, but I cannot recall the other types of wood specifically.
And the material with which we make the arrows?
Sir, again, the arrows are made out of bamboo commonly in India, but these days there is a transition to synthetic material also like carbon fiber for the arrows.
When was the archery added in Olympics?
Sir, archery has been added in Olympics um, a couple of years back. So I'm not sure of the exact date, but I think it was in the 1980s itself.
Okay. Who is the first woman individual in world ranking who got the first world ranking from India?
Sir, it is Deepika Kumari. She
And
received the world rank. She is currently also the first in India in women.
can you guess the year when she became the first world ranker initially?
Sir, I think it is 2010 or around 2010, 2012.
Okay. Uh, what is the motto of Indian Forest Service?
Sir, I don't know if there is an exact phrase or an exact motto, but the general aim is to take care of the welfare of the forest as well as the forest people.
Okay. Do you know when was it created?
So no, I'm not aware of that.
Do you know where its center is, where its academy is?
So the training academy for Indian Forest Service is in Dehradun,
What's
in
its name?
Uttarakhand. I cannot recall the exact name.
Okay. What is the full form of Inspire, the scholarship?
Sir, again, I'm not able to recall the entire full form, but it is an Indian science scholarship.
Can you tell us why is it given to people?
Yes, sir. Sir, there are different benefits or different forms of the Inspire scholarship. The one that I received in 10th standard was being given by CBSE to students who scored in the top 1 percentile in the 10th standard board exam. And this was done in order to encourage the students to pursue sciences in their higher education and to provide them scholarship for the study.
Very nice, Urvashi. So the full form is Innovation in Science Pursuit for Inspired Research. So, do you think you are doing justice by leaving science behind and coming to the service?
Sir, I believe that research and science helps us develop a way of thinking. It is a training in problem solving, identifying problems scientifically, and then identifying solutions for them. So I believe that it is not that I am doing injustice, because given a chance, I will be able to apply my training to the different real life problems in the field as a forest service officer, and I can help institutionalize some of these practices if given a chance.
What is the state bird of Uttar Pradesh?
Sir, it is the Saras crane.
Sorry?
The Saras crane.
Saras screen. Can you tell us the colors in Saras screen?
Sir, it is a multicolored bird. So it has a majorly white body. There is flashes of yellow and red on its wings. It also has a red beak. Um, these are the colors that I can recall.
Can you tell us some major tree species that are found in Uttar Pradesh?
Yes, sir. Sir, Uttar Pradesh is a wheat growing belt. So along the wheat growing fields, we have a populous deltoid, which is the poplar tree. Apart from that, the neem tree is also commonly found. There is also forest where sal plantation has been done, the sal tree plantation. And Uttar Pradesh also has a few fruit trees, like the jamun trees, etc., that I can think of.
Okay. Can you tell us some of the forest types of Uttar Pradesh as per Champion and Seat?
Yes, sir. Uh, we have the dry deciduous forest in Uttar Pradesh. This is majorly in the Bundelkhand region. Then there is also some patches of moist deciduous forest. This is the what I can recall. I don't remember the championship number classification.
Do you know that Champion and Seat exists?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, how many types of forest they have devised in general?
So there are 16 forest types in championship put into 5 major categories.
Okay. And have you heard the term Shannon Wiener Index?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
So it is an index to calculate the biological diversity in an ecosystem, and it takes into account both species richness and species evenness.
Okay. How many national parks are there in India?
So totally there are around 105 national parks.
Have you visited any?
Yes, sir.
Which one?
Sir, I have been to the Jim Corbett National Park in Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand. I have also been to Jaldapara National Park in West Bengal. Apart from that, I have been to National Chambal Sanctuary, which is also a national park in Morena district of MP. And I have been to the Mudumalai National Park in Tamil Nadu.
So, could you please differentiate between the in terms of ecology, wildlife that you witnessed there in from southern India and the Jaldapara, the Mudumulai and the Jaldapara, and in terms of administration, if you have witnessed any?
Yes, sir. Sir, the Mudumalai Tiger, the Mudumalai Wildlife Sanctuary and National Park in Tamil Nadu is part of the Nilgiri Forest Range. So the major ecology there is tropical rainforest along with an amount of shola forest also present. And it is also on a hilly terrain. The Jaldapara National Park is on the plains, on the foothills of the Himalayas, and so there is more of a grassland ecology along with swamp forest. And also there is a difference in the fauna found over there. In Jaldapara National Park, there you have a presence of one-horned rhinos and other um, herbaceous flora fauna. In the Mudumalai forest, there is presence of tigers as well as elephants. So this is the difference. In terms of the administration of the forest, I think both were very well managed. The Jaldapara National Park focuses more on ecotourism compared to the Mudumalai Sanctuary. Whereas in the Mudumalai Sanctuary, there is greater focus on conservation of elephants. So they also have an elephant rehabilitation center attached to the to the park. This was the difference I noticed in the administration.
Okay, Urvashi, that's all from my side. Thank you very much. Thank you.
If Rajnish sir is there and his network allow, he can please ask you questions.
Yes, I'm only available on audio.
So, alright,
So
sir.
hello, Urvashi.
Hello, sir.
So you were talking about the national park which you have visited, and one among those were the National Chambal Sanctuary you mentioned.
Yes, sir.
So can you please the few species, iconic species of National Chambal Sanctuary?
Yes, sir. So the National Jambal Sanctuary majorly focuses on the preservation of the critically endangered species of gharial. One of the largest populations of the gharial in India is present in this sanctuary. Apart from the gharial, the magar version of the crocodile is also found here. The Gangetic dolphin is also seen in the Chambal River in the sanctuary,
Mhm.
and there are a lot of birds and amphibian species and reptiles. So there is also the red-crowned roof turtle, which is critically endangered, and it is being preserved in the sanctuary.
Okay. So you really mentioned, I mean, the iconic species. One is red-crowned roof turtle.
Yes, sir.
So can you tell us something more about the red-crowned roof turtle? Why it is like so precious to have red-crowned roof turtle in Chambal?
Sir, one of the reasons it is an important species to conserve, apart from its intrinsic value itself, is it is an indicator of the ecology as well as the conditions of the river, because it is a freshwater turtle species and it is highly sensitive to any contamination in the river. So that is what I can think of right now.
Uh, do you know what's the meaning of the term endemic?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
So endemic refers to species which are only found in a particular area they are endemic to and will not be observed outside of that region.
Okay. So the red crown roof turtle is endemic to Chambal water system. So that makes it even more vulnerable. And you must
Sir, I
come
think your
across.
voice has gone down.
Hello,
Yes.
am I audible now?
So I think,
Mayank,
sir,
am I
mic
audible now?
is a little far, has moved a little far away. It seems
How about now?
a little bit better, but still not as good as it was earlier.
Okay, just
Yes, now it is good, sir. Sir, you're on mute. I think by default it was on mute.
is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah, sorry, extremely sorry. I'm middle of jungle, so okay. So what are the conservation challenges there at the Chambal Sanctuary? Have you witnessed any?
Yes, sir. So one of the things that I noticed was across the river sanctuary. The river is the one which is the sanctuary. So there is an increasing construction of bridges across the river, which is disturbing the habitat of these critically endangered and endangered species. Apart from that, there is encroachment of the banks of the river on either side by the local population, and there is increasing activity of the residents of the area, such as washing, bathing, etc., in the river itself. So these are increasing the conservation challenges.
And how about the sand mining? It is much talked about, conservation challenge. Then a few bridges or a few villagers washing their clothes. Have you not noticed the sand mining?
Sir, I personally did not notice the sand mining because today that stretch of the river which constitutes the National Jambal Sanctuary is highly managed, and there is less of the sand mining activity. But I am aware that that area is infamous for sand mining. So illegally, it must be happening.
And how it is affecting, because otherwise the ghadials are aquatic species. So how, I mean, there is so much of hue and cry on sand mining. Sand mining doesn't affect the river flow.
Uh, Sir, the gharial as well as the mugger species, they nest on the banks next to the river, and they lay their eggs deep within the sand. So the sand mining will affect their breeding activity.
Okay, good. You also mentioned your field of interest is wildlife documentaries.
Yes, sir.
So can you name a few wildlife documentaries which you recently watched on, Indian wildlife and the Indian wildlife areas?
Yes, sir. Sir, there is a wildlife documentator called Shekhar Dattatri. He is one of India's first wildlife documentators who work with National Geographic. And in the forest of Tamil Nadu, he has made a wildlife documentary called Baby Elephant Lie Lie. Basically follows the life of a baby elephant in the Nilgiri forest range. So that is one that I watched recently. Another is not one documentary, but a series of documentaries. It is a TV series called Safari with Suyash. This is being presented by Suyash Keshari, who is present in the Bandhavgarh forest. So I also follow that series.
Okay, that's really good. So, Acha, do you know who is Limbaram?
Yes, sir.
Who is he?
Sir, he is an archer who hails from a tribal community in India.
Okay.
Um, and he has won many medals, which has brought a lot of pride to his community and for Indians.
Anything beyond this?
Sir, I'm not able to recall more about him.
Urvashi, I may be harsh, but is this the reason behind the tribal unrest that, we really don't bother about the achievement of tribal community, be it Eklavya, which you forgot to mention when Mayank asked about the archers from the mythology, or be it the Limbaram, who is, I think, the first star archer of India. So is it like just by chance, or do you see that there is a trend that we don't admire our, tribal heroes, and that is ultimately leading to all kind of, tribal related unrest all across country?
Sir, I agree with you that there is less recognition of the achievements towards which hail from the tribal community. However, I would like to disagree when regarding the fact that this could be the reason for their unrest. And what I have seen, or my opinion, is that this recognition is slowly increasing with greater um, inclusion of the tribals, and also through the use of social media, etc. Any achievement from any community is being able to, people are able to hear about it and learn and from it. So I believe that this trend is slowly reversing, and that maybe one of the major reasons for tribal unrest is more regarding their development needs and their cultural protection when it comes to mainstreaming the tribals through development, rather than um, focus, rather
Okay,
than the lack
fair
of
enough.
attention on their achievements.
Fair enough. So you mentioned about the development challenges in tribal area.
Yes.
And at times, the forest officials are also considered to be the villain. Those who are, anti-development, they will not allow roads to build, or, all those development things. So how you see this? Why the forest officials? I mean, if at all you are aware that forest officials are considered the villain when it comes to the development of the area, if yes, then what are the reasons and how we can, cope up with that? How we can counter that?
Yes, sir. Sir, one of the reasons there might be antagonism between the tribals and the forest officials is, like you mentioned, in order to carry out certain development work, it might the as a course of their duty, the work of the forest department might be to encroach upon the tribal land, or in certain cases even lead to their displacement. And at the same time, since the forest officers working in the area are from outside, there is a perceived um, there is a perceived sense of them being outsiders imposing their culture. So, because of these reasons, because of the different way of life, there can be some challenges between the forest department officials and the tribals. And with regards to how we can try to mitigate or counter this, can be greater inclusion of the tribal society in the work through policy participation or greater consultation of their leaders or through the Gram Sabha and Panchayat channels um, to pay attention to their demands and needs. And also, maybe the forest officers can undergo training and understanding their way of life. This can be done through learning their language if possible, or spending time in the forest areas within these tribal communities. So it can bridge the perceived lack of trust deficit between the two.
Okay. And you also opted for, as a first choice, Southern Zone as a your first choice instead of, normal trend is everybody look for a home cadre.
Yes,
You
sir.
opted for South India,
Yes.
the states which are in, southern part of India. So do you think you will also add some amount to this unrest because you are not local from the southern part of India? And how are you going to, mitigate that?
Yes, sir. Sir, I have actually grown up. I have lived all across India, and I have spent majority of my childhood in Tamil Nadu. So there is some sense of familiarity with the southern states culture to me personally. And with regards to me being perceived as an outsider in the forest area or in the other states in the southern zone, I believe I will have to work in towards learning the language, learning the culture, and being careful of not imposing my prejudices or my understanding of northern culture upon these people. And I do like to enjoy. I like to learn about new cultures, so I believe that it will not. It would be something that I will be enjoying taking this effort.
Thank you. Mayank, this much is from my side. You can carry.
Thank you, sir. Rishabh, sir,
Okay, I will quickly ask two, three questions and then we can wrap it. Okay. So, Urvashi, can you tell us what were the impact of bifurcation of Uttar Pradesh?
Yes, so Uttar Pradesh was a very large state previous to the bifurcation. Today, also, it is one of the larger states of India. And so the bifurcation gave the two bifurcated states, the people of these regions, their regional aspirations were met because they could identify to these smaller areas, both through their ethnicity, language, and culture. It also increased the ease of administration because it is difficult to administrate over a large number of districts. And because of the different ecology and the different climate, terrain, etc., more suited policies and more decentralized governance is possible now.
So, basically, it has been beneficial for both Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, why shouldn't we trifurcate the remaining Uttar Pradesh now in the east, west, and central Uttar Pradesh?
Sir, with regards to bifurcation of the states, I think there are multiple factors that need to look into. Like in the case of Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, both the regions' um, geographical diversity as well as the ethnicity and ease of administration helped in make it help in the development of both states. However, we cannot be sure that by bifurcating Uttar Pradesh into three separate sections, such kind of outcomes would be met. And it is important for national integration that we try to encourage development without the tendency to break into smaller states.
Okay, who is the governor of Uttar Pradesh right now?
I cannot recall the names of.
Okay, there are only two mammals which are known to lay eggs. Okay, can you
Yes, sir.
tell? Can you tell any one of them?
The duckbill platypus is a mammal that lays eggs.
Good. what is the difference between this environment and ecology?
Sir, ecology is actually the study of the environment and its components, and um, the environment is an area where different communities reside and their interaction, the biotic as well as abiotic interaction within that area.
Oh, good. So you watch this wildlife documentaries. So can you tell us why the wildlife photographers, okay, or the video guys, they refrain from shooting the nest of a bird? Usually, you see that there are less photos of the bird's nest.
Yes,
Why is it so?
so there can be multiple reasons for that. One reason could be that the birds' nests are located on top of trees and in areas which is difficult to access. So if they try to get too close or if they use invasive means of photographing these nests, it would lead to more harm and it would also breach the privacy of these birds. The second is that most birds are sensitive to onlookers when it comes to breeding and in protection of the young ones who are present inside the nest. So for these reasons, there is less photography of such events.
Okay. Oh, my last question to you, Urvashi. So you have been to New Delhi, Chennai, and Goa as well. Okay.
Yes,
So tell me one thing from all these places which you would like to bring to your Uttar Pradesh.
yes. So can I take a minute to think about this question?
Yes, sure.
Yes, sir. So there are multiple things that all of these places offer that can be implemented in Uttar Pradesh if not being done already. From Chennai, I recently noticed that in Chennai, there is a very organized system of waste collection and disposal. So the entire city waste collection has been outsourced to private players, and there are very strict guidelines on the segregation of waste from the homes itself. And even in my own home in Chennai, there are three different bins for different kinds of waste that we are throwing, and the municipalities of each location provide training to the residents to understand how to segregate the waste. So this can be something that can be implemented in Uttar Pradesh and other states also. With regards to Goa, Goa is there is a lot of emphasis on preserving the natural environment despite the main source of revenue being tourism and the influx of tourists. So I think the conscious effort by the administrators in ensuring that the very critically um, ecologically sensitive areas are not being open for tourists. That is something that can be even incorporated in Uttar Pradesh, especially with respect to the different wetlands that are there in Uttar Pradesh to maintain its ecology. And with regards to Delhi, because it is the capital and a big metropolitan city, there is a lot of infrastructural development in Delhi, such as the metro. And the metro as a means of public transportation can be expanded across Uttar Pradesh.
Okay, thank you, Urvashi. That's all from my side.
So,
Now over to you, Mayank.
Urvashi, it was great talking to you. Your mock
Thank
interview
you
is
so much.
over. You can please
Thank
leave the
you.
call for a few minutes. Then we'll call you back for the feedback after 2-3 minutes, right?
Okay.
Thank you.